My best friend turned the worst trauma of my life into content, and even then, God found a way to rewrite the ending of our story. My name is Hannah Miller. I'm 32 years old. I'm a nurse at a hospital in a mid-sized city in Georgia, and for a long time I thought my name was Testimony. Not Hannah. Not daughter. Not person. Testimony. Those overcoming stories you click on, cry, and share? In one of them, behind every generic phrase and every well-edited cut, it was my life bleeding in silence. The difference is that when millions of people heard it, I had never said amen to that. Before I tell you how I got there, answer me something in the comments. Honestly, if someone you love took the most painful part of your life and put it on the internet without asking if you were ready for that, how do you think you'd feel? And if stories like this stir something in you, subscribe to the channel, because what I'm about to tell you is not just about exposure and betrayal. It's about reunion, boundaries, and a God who does not treat our pain as disposable content. I grew up believing that telling what God had done in our life was the most beautiful thing a person could do. I just didn't know there was a wrong way to do it, until my own friend chose that path. Rachel and I met before we knew what real pain was. I was 12, she was 13, and we were sitting in the same row of plastic chairs at Vacation Bible School at church. She was the talkative girl, curly hair pulled up in a high ponytail, fresh t-shirt from the youth conference, a pencil case full of colored pens, and that sparkle in her eyes of someone who always has a story to tell. I was the opposite. Quiet, shy, wearing the same worn-out sneakers I used for everything, hair in a messy bun, a plain notebook bought on supermarket sale. She drew hearts in her notebook, asked questions to the teacher, raised her hand, laughed loud. I wrote down verses in silence, trying not to attract attention. During the break, while the other girls talked about crushes and clothes, she walked straight up to me like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Do you always write that much?" she asked, pointing at my little notebook full of notes. I shut the notebook almost by reflex. "It's just," I shrugged. "I like to write." "About what?" she insisted. "About everything," I answered. "About what I think, about God, about me. It's easier to write than to talk." She smiled like she'd just found treasure. "Then we already have something in common," she said. "I love stories too. I just like to speak them. Maybe you write and I talk." She pulled a notebook from her backpack and showed me a bright yellow cover with a sentence in gold letters, "Tell your story." "My dad gave me this," she explained. "He says stories that stay hidden rot. Stories that are told heal us and heal others." I looked at her notebook, then at mine, brown and plain. "My dad says too many stories can bring trouble," I replied, half laughing. "That some things are better left alone." She made a face. "Then it's decided," she said. "When we grow up, I'm going to have a huge channel. I'll tell stories from all over the world, and you're going to be the friend who writes everything beforehand so I don't say something dumb." I laughed. At that age, it sounded like nothing more than teenage talk. That day, she tore a sheet from her yellow notebook and handed it to me. "There. Now you have a piece of my courage," she said. "And one day, I'm going to give you a whole one just like it." I folded that sheet and stuck it in my Bible and forgot about it for years. Our homes were different worlds that met on the church bench. I lived in a small, simple house in the old part of town. My dad was a school custodian, my mom cooked at a diner. Our family car was an old sedan that coughed climbing hills. Sometimes we counted coins to pay the power bill. Rachel's house was in a gated neighborhood with an automatic gate and trimmed grass. Her dad owned a small construction company, her mom was a music teacher. At Christmas, their living room tree looked like a catalog. Mine was a fake pine tree we decorated every year with the same old ornaments. But in church, everyone used the same hymnal. That's where we became Rachel and Hannah. Everybody in the youth group knew, where you saw one, the other wasn't far. I studied more, helped with homework, spent hours in the library. She led games, skits, last-minute choir songs. I held the script. She held the microphone. The first time she talked about starting a YouTube channel was at an all-night prayer meeting, after midnight, everybody lying on the fellowship hall floor, lights off, only candles lit up front. "One day I'm going to have a huge channel, Hannah," she whispered so the leader wouldn't hush us. "I'm going to talk about God, real life, broken people. No fake perfection. And you're going to help me write." "You don't even know if that's God's will," I replied, repeating what I always heard at home when someone talked about big dreams. "God loves stories," she insisted. "You think he filled the Bible with testimonies for nothing?" I shrugged. "I just don't want to be seen," I confessed. "I would rather always stay backstage." She looked at me with those eyes that believed something big for everyone. "We'll see later," she said. "The important thing is we keep walking together." Life went on, the way life always does. We finished high school. I got into nursing school on a scholarship, working part-time at a supermarket. She started a communications degree but soon dropped it to work with her dad and, at the same time, try out every content format, blog, Christian makeup channel, funny Instagram videos. Nothing really took off. But she didn't quit. "I know God called me to reach people," she said. "I just haven't found the format yet." Me, on my side, I just wanted to survive college, shifts, anatomy classes, and help my parents at home. It was in the middle of all that noise that I met Ethan. Ethan came to our church like an answer to a prayer I wasn't even sure I'd prayed. He was a musician. Played guitar and keys, sang with that slightly husky voice that made all the girls on the worship team shiver. He showed up with a marked Bible, rehearsed phrases, and a strong testimony, messed up past, encounter with God, restoration, ministry calling. The kind of story everyone loves to hear. The kind of story I, quietly, never imagined I would be part of. I had never been the kind of woman men pursued. I was always the pretty girl's friend. The one who listened and gave advice, not the one receiving love declarations. So when Ethan started talking to me after services, I thought he'd mistaken me for someone else. "Have you always gone to this church?" he asked once, leaning against the stair railing, guitar on his back. "Since I was a kid," I answered. "You?" "I moved here from another town," he said. "God's been taking me different places. But I feel like here. I don't know, it feels different. Feels like home." He said, "A home," looking at me, not at the building. Soon came the text messages. The "Good morning, woman of God," the "I was reading this verse and thought of you," the long audios about purpose and calling. Rachel noticed, of course. "If you don't want him, I'll take him," she joked one day in the car after church. "Because, girl, a handsome, Jesus-loving guy is rare." I laughed, blushing. "He doesn't like me like that," I protested. "Are you blind?" she shot back. "The only thing missing is a literal sign on his forehead." When he finally asked me out for coffee, my heart was pounding out of my chest. We sat in a Starbucks near church. I ordered a cheap latte. He ordered something complicated with caramel, whipped cream, and more Italian words than I could pronounce. After a few minutes of small talk, he got to the point. "Hannah, I've been praying for a while," he began. "I'm not a kid. I'm not here to play games. I look at you and I see a woman who loves God, who serves, who's faithful, who has a pure heart. I want to ask if you'd pray about us getting to know each other better with the purpose of marriage." For me, that was too much. Rachel was the first person I called when I got home. "Aha," she screamed on the other end. I knew it. "Girl, this is perfect. Can you imagine? You as a nurse, he on the worship team, traveling to minister, filming your testimony. It smells like a video script already." Back then, I laughed when she said those things. Now I see how some phrases stay hanging in the air for years, waiting for the day they'll land. The beginning with Ethan was beautiful. He sent flowers to my job. Left notes with Bible verses. Picked me up for church, opened the car door, listened to me talk about school, my family. He said I was different from any other woman he'd known. "You're not chasing the spotlight," he praised. "You don't need to be seen. That's rare. We prayed together. He sang those Christian love songs that mix a you and a Lord in the same chorus. He made me believe that, after years of being the supporting character, I might finally be the lead in someone's story. He proposed during a Sunday evening service, in front of the whole church. I was sitting halfway down the aisle, no clue what was coming. He was on the platform, after finishing the last song, preaching about covenant, purpose, family before God. Next thing I knew, he was down on one knee, little ring box in his hand, calling me by my full name. "Hannah Miller, will you be my wife and build a story with me for God's glory?" he asked, voice trembling. The whole church went, "Aw." Phones came out, recording, clapping. Rachel was crying almost as hard as my mother. I said yes. That yes would cost far more than I could imagine. The wedding was everything our budget could handle and more than my expectations ever dared. Simple white dress, but beautiful to me. 3-tier cake paid in 10 installments. Church fellowship hall decorated with plastic flowers arranged with love by the older ladies. Rachel was my maid of honor. On the morning of the wedding, she showed up at my parents' house with a bag in her hand and a huge smile. "Remember that yellow notebook page I gave you when we were kids?" she asked, walking into my room. I had forgotten. She hadn't. She pulled a new notebook from the bag. Hard yellow cover, the same gold phrase, "Tell your story." But this time, underneath, in smaller letters, there was another phrase, "God is still writing." "It's for you," she said, handing it to me. "To write everything God does in your marriage. Every struggle, every victory. One day, who knows, maybe we'll tell this story to the world." I hugged that notebook like someone hugging the future. That day, I had no idea how those words would taste years later. The start of married life looked like a perfect little Christian commercial. Ethan was attentive. Texted me on my shifts just to say he was praying for me. Made coffee in the morning when I got home from night duty. Stuck post-its with Bible verses on the fridge. He started preaching in a few small churches as a guest. Brought his guitar, shared his testimony, cried, talked about God's power to restore life. I sat in the front row, proud, hands folded in my lap, yellow notebook in my bag, jotting down phrases that touched me. Slowly, some things began to change. At first, they were small. A comment about what I wore. "That skirt's a bit tight for a worship leader's wife, don't you think?" he'd say, half joking, half serious. A comment about my friends. "I don't like that coworker of yours. I don't think she's a good influence. A woman of God needs to watch who she calls friend." I'd always been insecure, so I interpreted those things as care. He started editing my social media captions. "This sounds like you're trying to show off," he'd say. "Delete it. You don't need that." When I came home from shifts, he'd ask who I'd worked with, which doctor was on duty, whether I'd spoken to any male patients more than necessary. "I'm just protecting you, Hannah," he'd say when I pushed back. "The world is messed up. Men are trash. I don't want anyone looking at you wrong." I felt protected. Until the day I realized I was being monitored. It escalated so slowly that by the time I saw how big it was already over my head. He started picking at my job. "Do you really have to work so much?" he'd ask. "If God gave you a husband, it's because he wants you home more." When I said we needed my paycheck to cover the bills, he'd sigh. "That's such a lack of faith," he'd say. "God is our provider. Not the hospital." At the same time, he began talking about full-time ministry. "God's calling me to something bigger," he'd repeat. "I can't stay stuck in a secular job. I need time to preach." He quit his steady job at a music store, saying he had to focus on his calling. He started taking odd jobs, giving music lessons, preaching here and there. Bills started piling up. I picked up extra hours at the hospital. Came home dead tired. And still, he somehow made me feel guilty. "You give more of yourself to the hospital than to the altar," he'd accuse. "Where's your heart?" I started noticing other signs. Text messages he hid. Conversations that stopped abruptly when I walked into the room. Constant criticism of my posture and almost no self-reflection. He used God as his argument for everything. God told me you need to be more submissive. God spoke to me that this friend of yours can't be trusted. God showed me you have to stop questioning. I was afraid to disagree. Not just with him, with God. When I told some of this to Rachel, she was torn. "Girl, this is weird," she said one day on my couch, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. "I get care. I get protection. But this is control. You think I'm overreacting?" I asked. "I think Ethan is intense," she replied carefully. "And I think you've learned to obey everything without asking if God really said it." "You don't understand, Rach," I pushed back. "He's a man of God. Everyone at church admires him. The pastor trusts him. What if I'm the problem here?" She didn't insist. Now I know she was afraid to poke the image everyone at church had of him. The first big blow-up happened because of work. I was in a week of heavy shifts. A nurse on my team got sick, so I covered extra hours. I got home late on a doctrinal teaching night. Ethan was at the door, ready, Bible in hand, shoes shined. "You're not even going to have time to change properly," he complained, looking at my scrubs. "I'm exhausted, Ethan," I said. "I've been at the hospital until now. I have an early shift tomorrow. Could I please stay home tonight and pray from here?" His expression changed. "We don't just skip services like that," he said coldly. "First it's the shift, then it's school, then it's I'm tired, next thing you know, you'll be out of God's presence and not even realize it." "I'm not leaving God's presence," I snapped back, too tired to sugarcoat. "I'm just tired." He stepped closer. "Tired of what?" "Serving?" he asked. "Being a man of God's wife?" "I'm tired of feeling like everything I do is never enough," I said. He took a deep breath, gripping his Bible. "You know what scripture says about the wise woman and the foolish one, right?" he said in a tone I'd never heard. "The wise one builds her house. The foolish one tears it down with her own hands. Ask the Holy Spirit to show you which one you're being." He went to church alone. I sat on the kitchen floor in my scrubs, smelling like hospital, wondering when the man who made promises to me at the altar had turned into my judge. Around that time, I started writing more in the yellow notebook. I wrote down things I was too afraid to say. Today he said I'm dead weight to his calling. Today he called my tears drama. Today he said if I were more submissive, God would use me more. Rachel knew something was wrong, but I wouldn't let her go that deep. "Are you okay?" she'd text. "Marriage is a battlefield, right?" I'd reply. That's how we normalize what's not normal. The turning point came when my body decided to scream what my mouth wouldn't. I began having anxiety attacks. In the hospital, in the middle of shifts, suddenly there wasn't enough air, my hands shook, my heart pounded. I was sure I was having a heart attack. The doctors said, panic attack. A coworker took me to the hospital psychologist's office. "You need to talk," the psychologist said gently. "About work, about home, about whatever is crushing you." I cried for almost an hour, words tangled up. At the end she asked, "Do you feel safe at home?" The question hit a place I'd been avoiding. Safe? No. I was walking on eggshells. I talked about Ethan. Not everything. But enough for her to understand. "That's emotional and spiritual abuse, Hannah," she said firmly. "And it will get worse if you don't set boundaries." I went home that day with my head spinning. I remember walking into the bedroom, opening the yellow notebook, and writing in big letters, "Is this abuse?" I stared at the question for a long time. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, I grabbed my phone and texted Rachel, "I think my marriage isn't what I've always told everyone it was." She answered almost immediately. "I'm here. When you want to talk, we talk." The conversation that changed everything happened a few weeks later, in a small cafe near the hospital. I'd arranged to meet Rachel. I arrived with my scrubs under my jacket, hair tied back, deep shadows under my eyes. She hugged me tight. "You're so thin," she said. "And you've got this look I don't recognize." We sat at a table in the corner. The place smelled like freshly ground coffee and cinnamon cake. For a few minutes, I just stirred sugar around my cup, not knowing where to start. "Ethan," I began. "He is not the man everyone applauds at church." The words poured out, one after another, like water from a cracked dam. I talked about the criticism, the comments, the way he used God's name to justify control, the times he made me feel like nothing in the name of taking care of my soul. There was no physical violence. But there was something that sometimes hurts even more precisely because it leaves no visible bruise. Rachel listened in silence, hands around her mug. "I had no idea it was like this," she said finally. "I saw some weird things, but I thought they were just phases. That you too would adjust." "So did I," I replied. "I always think I'm the problem. That I'm too sensitive, too dramatic, too ungrateful." She shook her head. "Hannah, this is spiritual abuse," she said firmly. "And emotional abuse. God doesn't talk to us like that. No man has the right to use God's name to crush you." I cried. Not from fear this time, but relief. Someone had finally named it. We talked until the cafe closed. Before we left, she took my hands. "I know you're not ready to talk about this publicly," she said. "But one day, if God gives you peace and you want to, this story is going to heal a lot of people. There are so many Hannahs sitting in church pews thinking they're crazy." I nodded, face still wet. "One day," I said. "But not now." She promised to respect that. "I won't expose you," she said. "I'm your friend first, before anything else." I believed her. Leaving that marriage wasn't quick or simple. First, it was internal. Hours of therapy. Praying in the bathroom. Reading Bible verses I'd never noticed before, about God being our refuge, hiding place, defender of the oppressed. Then it was external. Conversations with the pastor, the psychologist, a Christian lawyer. Shocked looks. Wispy comments like, "Are you sure? Marriage is struggle, pray a little more." Some believed me right away. Others preferred to believe the public image of Ethan. Rachel stood by me through almost everything. Took me to appointments. Helped me look for a small apartment to rent when it became clear I couldn't stay in that house. Texted me at 2 a.m. when I said I wanted to go back just to avoid making a scene. "You're not the scandal," she'd repeat. "The sin isn't leaving a place that's killing you slowly. The sin was him putting you there and using God as a shield." After months, I finally left. We signed legal separation papers. I endured nasty looks in the church hallway. Overheard whispers like, "Poor Ethan, he was such a man of God." Rachel would get furious at those comments. "If I had a big channel, I'd preach about this till the internet exploded," she fumed. "Nobody sees what these guys do behind the pulpit." I smiled sadly. "Good thing you don't," I'd say. "Because I'd die if I had to see my story on YouTube." She laughed. "Relax, I'd never do that to you," she said. That's when the seed was planted. Not out of malice, but from a dangerous mix of grief, indignation, and a dream of doing something for God. The divorce came through a year later. The world didn't end. I kept working at the hospital. I went to church less, more out of shame than lack of faith. Some Sundays I watched the service online. Others, I just slept. Rachel decided, once and for all, to throw herself into the channel. "I don't know if I'll be in this job forever," she said, dragging herself out of the accounting office where she worked. "But I do know what burns in me is telling real stories. Stories no one wants to hear from the pulpit." She bought a better camera, built a makeshift set in her living room with fairy lights and a shelf full of Christian books she hadn't even read yet. She set up a lightbox sign that said "Faith and Real Life." I was there the day she filmed her first reel video. This mug here is my symbol, she joked, holding up a white mug with the phrase, "Tell your story," in gold letters, just like the notebook she'd given me years before. It's to remind me that stories that sit still rot. I sat behind the camera, watching her do her intro, breathe, mess up, try again. I want to be used, Hannah, she confessed between takes. I don't want a lukewarm life. If God gave me a voice, it's to reach people. I didn't see malice in that. And there wasn't. At first, her videos were about her own life. Stories of insecurity, family, faith, crushed dreams. Some got 50 views. Others, 100. Sometimes 1,000. She celebrated every new subscriber. One day this is going to blow up, she said. God doesn't waste anything. I just didn't know that, for her, not wasting anything would eventually include my pain. The breakout, it started on a regular night. I was exhausted after a hard shift in the ICU. I collapsed on the couch, scrubs still under my hoodie, hair in a messy bun, yellow notebook open on the coffee table. Rachel showed up with pizza and way too much energy for a Wednesday. Tonight I recorded a video that I know is going to change everything, she announced, flopping into the armchair, balancing the pizza box on her knees. About what? I asked, grabbing a slice. About spiritual abuse, she said. About women getting crushed inside the church and nobody sees it. My stomach, which was already off from the shift, flipped. You told my story? I asked slowly. I didn't tell your story, she corrected quickly. I told a friend's story. I didn't say your name, didn't say his name, didn't say the city, nothing. But I needed real examples, girl. And you know what you went through is bigger than just you. So many women are going through the same thing. I stayed quiet. Hannah, I prayed before I did it, she went on, seeing my face. I didn't want to expose you. I wanted your pain not to be wasted. I mentioned things, but in a way no one will connect them to you. She sounded so sure that, in that moment, I wanted to believe her. You could have asked me, was all I managed to say. I know, I'm sorry, she said. I was so stirred up after that talk we had. I prayed and felt I needed to speak. I promise you, if you feel bad about it, I'll take it down. I nodded, but the lump in my throat didn't go away. She left my place later that night, after showing me the video in draft mode. I watched from across the room, not really taking it all in. The title was strong. She thought she was married to a man of God, until she realized he used God's name to destroy her. On the thumbnail, she held the "Tell Your Story" mug and, next to her, a blurred yellow notebook. My notebook. Something inside me shrank, but I was too tired to fight. I'll watch it properly later, I said. Right now I just want to sleep. The next day I barely had time to think about it. I left early for another shift. Spent the day running from bed to bed, meds, tests, moans, thank yous, goodbyes. Late in the afternoon, in the locker room, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. YouTube notifications. Rachel Faith posted a new video. Your comment got 20 likes. WhatsApp messages. Girl, is that you in Rachel's video? Love you, I'm praying for you. If that's you, your courage inspires me. My heart pounded. I tapped the link. In less than 24 hours, it had over 100,000 views. Rachel spoke with tears in her eyes, holding the "Tell Your Story" mug. Today I want to share a friend's story, she said. A woman I love, who serves God, who spent years in an abusive marriage inside the church without anyone seeing, because her abuser knew how to use scripture. She didn't say my name. But she said I was a nurse. She said it was a church marriage. She said he played on the worship team. She told details of conversations only the two of us had ever had. I saw myself in every second of that video. And worse, I knew anyone who knew me would see me there too. The comments were a mix of tears and confession. I am this friend. Thank you for talking about this. I've been through something similar and never had the courage to say it. The pastor's wife at my church lives this and no one believes her. And what stung, messages from people at my own church. At first I thought it might be her. I know a nurse who went through that. I read those comments over and over, heart in my throat. My trauma was now content. I hadn't approved it. I hadn't decided I was ready. But millions of people were consuming it as the testimony of a friend. The betrayal, the anger didn't come all at once. First, there was shame. I started to feel like everyone was looking at me knowing my story. At the hospital, coworkers hugged me with a different kind of tenderness. I saw a video the other day, one nursing tech began, trailing off. If that was you, I just want you to know I'm here for you. At church, some women looked at me with pity. Others, with a mix of admiration and judgment. God is using you so much, honey, one lady said in the hallway. Your story is reaching so many women. I smiled weakly, wanting to disappear. Then came the anger. I texted Rachel. Can we talk? She answered right away. Of course. Have you seen the impact? God is doing something huge, Hannah. We met at a park on Saturday morning. She arrived with her phone in hand, excited. Girl, have you read the comments? She began before even sitting. People from Portugal, Brazil, the US, all relating. Your suffering wasn't for nothing. God is using it so much. I cut her off. You shouldn't have done that, I said quietly. She froze. What do you mean? You told my story, I replied. You promised you'd wait until I was ready. You used details that clearly identify me. She jumped to defending herself. I didn't say your name. You didn't have to, I said. You said I'm a nurse. You talked about worship team. You described the way he used Bible verses. You talked about my breakdown in the kitchen. Rachel, half the church already knows. She frowned. But Hannah, look at the good it's doing, she argued. Look at the comments. Look at the messages. Think of how many women are seeing themselves in your story. Did you want all of that to stay hidden forever? I wanted a choice, I said, my voice cracking. I wanted to decide when, if, and how to share. You took the most vulnerable part of me and turned it into a 40-minute video without asking if I was ready. She was quiet for a few seconds. I prayed before I did it, she said at last. I felt led by God. I laughed, bitter. Funny, I said. That sounds familiar. He used to say that too. Her eyes widened. You're comparing me to Ethan, she asked, offended. I'm saying that both of you used God to justify things that hurt me deeply, I replied. He used God's name to control me. You used God's name to expose my pain. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it. Do you want me to take the video down? She asked. I hesitated. Because as furious as I was, I had read the comments. I had seen how many women the video had helped. I don't know, I admitted. What I do know is that every time someone looks at me and says, I saw your story, a part of me dies. She sighed. Hannah, I understand your pain, she said. But think with me, how many women will stay trapped if we stay silent? We? I echoed. Because in front of the camera, the one who cried was you. She fell silent. I stood up. I need time, I said. And for now, I don't want you using anything from my life on your channel. Nothing. Not the nurse friend, not the friend who left an abusive marriage. Nothing. She nodded, eyes wet. Okay, she said. But in her eyes, I still saw more conviction in her ministry than empathy. I walked away feeling like, on top of my marriage, I had just lost something else, the safety of a friendship I'd always thought was home. The days that followed were gray. I pulled back from church even more. The excuse was exhaustion, shifts, the divorce. Truth was, I couldn't stand hearing the word testimony anymore. I worked, came home, locked the door, took off my scrubs, put on an old t-shirt, and lay on the couch staring at the ceiling. When I had energy, I wrote in the yellow notebook. Now my story belongs to the whole world, except to me. I don't know who I am outside of what people know about what I went through. I'm angry even at God, because it feels like he's happy when my pain gets views. I knew that was theologically messy. But it was honest. Rachel, meanwhile, was at a peak. The video kept growing. Sponsors started showing up. God opened a door with a publisher, she told me in one of the few texts I replied to. They want me to write a book about restoration stories. They loved the Nurse Friend video. They want a whole chapter just about that. I read that message with my stomach clenched. I answered bluntly. I don't want my story in a book. She took a while to reply. I get it, she wrote. We'll talk later. Love you. I didn't text back a love you too. Not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't know where to put that love anymore. Her channel filled up with videos in the same format. She thought it was just anxiety, until God revealed it was spiritual attack. He thought he'd lost everything, until God turned it around. Some were her stories. Others were about people from church, told in third person. I watched first with discomfort. Then with a sort of jealousy. Discomfort, because I knew behind each she thought, he believed, there was a face, a body, a life exposed without a filter. Jealousy, because I saw her faith still burning, while mine felt dull and gray. I stopped watching. It felt safer to pretend her world and mine were parallel universes. At the hospital, I kept caring for broken people. Elderly patients afraid of dying. Teens who tried to end their own lives. Women with dark circles under their eyes hinting at sleepless nights next to someone who said, I love you, while slowly tearing them apart. One night, on a particularly hard shift, a 16-year-old girl came in. The details of her case don't matter. What matters is that while I checked her vitals and put on her ID bracelet, she looked at me like I might be the first adult in a long time not there to judge or preach. After tests, when the doctor stepped out, she grabbed my arm. Do you believe in God? She asked. I hesitated. I do, I answered, not entirely sure what that meant for me anymore. I'm scared to tell my mom everything that happened, she confessed. But I'm even more scared someone's going to take what I went through and tell it to everyone. I don't want to become someone's story. I just want to be heard. Her words went straight through my chest. I don't want to become someone's story. I just want to be heard. I took a deep breath. I promise that while you're here with me, I'll listen, I said. And whatever you choose to tell will be on your terms, in your time. When I left her room, I went to the hallway bathroom and cried. Not just for her. But because, for the first time, I saw clearly what hurt me so deeply. I just wanted to be heard before being exposed, too. Rachel's fall meanwhile, on the other side of town, Rachel's fall began in the same place everything had started, the internet. One of her videos, not mine, another one, was clipped and reposted on a big TikTok account. In the clip, she told the story of a girl from church who'd had a miscarriage and heard cruel comments from women who had no idea about her pain. The way the clip was edited made it sound like she'd shared the story without consent. In the comments, people started asking, did she get this person's permission? Isn't this emotional exploitation? How ethical is it to use someone's trauma like this? Soon, a friend of the woman in the story commented, saying yes, it was about a real person who didn't feel comfortable with that level of exposure. From TikTok, the chatter went to Twitter. Screenshots, threads, people tagging Christian brands that sponsored Rachel's channel. So this is influencer gospel now? Turning someone's trauma into content without boundaries? She tried to explain in a live stream. Guys, everything I do is to edify, she said, voice shaking. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But this time, apologies didn't fix it. Sponsors stepped back. The publisher paused the book project. Some church friends stopped sharing her videos. One day, the pastor asked to talk. She walked into his office, eyes puffy. "Rachel, sit down," he said gently. "I'm not here to crush you. But we need to talk about what's going on." She rushed to defend herself. "Pastor, you know my heart is for souls," she said. "I never meant to hurt anyone. I just want to be used." He nodded. "I don't doubt your intention," he replied. "But good intentions don't erase harmful fruit." She frowned. "At some point," he continued, "you started seeing people more as good stories for your channel than as God's wounded children. Do you see that?" She wanted to say no. To blame haters. To say the internet twists everything. But for the first time in months, she was quiet. She thought of me. Of the other woman. Of messages she'd gotten from people saying, "I didn't want my story told like that." "I thought," she started, voice cracking. "I thought that as long as it helped someone, that justified it." The pastor sighed. "How sure are you that it's God asking for these videos?" he asked, "and not the algorithm?" The question hung in the room. "Rachel," he said, more softly, "if your ministry is hurting more people than it heals, something is out of place." She left that office carrying a weight that wasn't the same as the persecution she liked to say she faced. It was the weight of conviction. The spiritual turn that night, Rachel sat alone in her recording corner in the living room. LED lights off. Camera on the tripod. Books on the shelf. She looked around and didn't see a mission field. She saw a tiny altar to herself. She dropped to the floor against the wall and started to cry. "God, where did I lose my way?" she asked out loud. "I just wanted to be used. When did this become about me, my channel, my numbers?" She stayed there a long time. Eventually, she got up and pulled books off the shelf. In the middle of all the glossy covers, she found something familiar. The yellow notebook. My notebook. She'd taken it weeks earlier, saying she wanted to read some things to understand better, and never returned it. She opened it. There were my sloppy lines, my rushed handwriting, my heart bleeding on paper. On one page she read, "If I ever tell this, I want it to be in my timing, with my voice, not with the voice of someone who thinks they know." She slammed the notebook shut. "God, forgive me," she whispered. It wasn't a pretty prayer. No verses quoted. No background music. Just a woman looking at a very crooked reflection. She spent hours that night writing me a letter. Not defending herself. Confessing. "Hannah, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from right now. And I don't blame you. I've been rewatching my videos, my words, my decisions. I realized that somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as my wounded friend and started seeing you as a powerful story. I turned your trauma into a platform for my ministry. I used your trust as raw material for my content. I hid behind a God is using this when, deep down, I also wanted to be seen. You never gave me permission to do that. I know. I'm writing not to ask you to say everything is okay. It isn't. But to tell you I'm repentant. I've deleted some videos, but I know there's much more I need to review. If one day you want to meet me, I won't come with defenses. I'll come to listen. And if you tell me you never want to see my face again, I'll understand. But I needed to ask you to forgive me. Rachel." She stared at the send button for hours. When she finally tapped it, she knew I might take days, weeks, or forever to answer. But for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was obeying God, not the algorithm. On my side, when the letter came, I was in the hospital cafeteria eating something tasteless between patients. I saw Rachel on my screen and my stomach tightened. I read the whole message, heart thumping. When I finished, my eyes were full of tears. I didn't reply. Not because her words hadn't reached me, but because I'd believed them before. I didn't want words. I wanted evidence. That week, for the first time in a long while, I opened her channel. The nurse friend video was gone. So was the miscarriage one. In their place, there was a new upload with a different kind of thumbnail. Title: When Ministry Becomes More Important Than People, an Apology. I watched. Rachel spoke with no makeup, no staged set, no mug. I'm recording this with a tight chest, she began. These last few months, God has been showing me how I've turned people's pain into content, often without asking. I hid behind phrases like, "It's for the kingdom," but I didn't really listen to those who trusted me with their stories. She didn't say my name. Or the other woman's. If you've ever seen yourself in one of my videos and felt exposed, unheard, used, I want to ask your forgiveness, she said. I can't undo everything, but I can at least stop repeating it. I clicked out before she finished crying. Because honestly, I still didn't know if that was repentance or just another video about repentance. On a later shift, that 16-year-old girl came back to mind. She was getting ready to be discharged. As I handed the papers to her mother, the girl pulled me aside. "Thanks for not treating me like a case," she said. "For not turning what I went through into a lesson." I smiled, eyes burning. "I know what that feels like," I replied. "Feels like what?" she asked. "Being a case," I said. "And not a person." When I got home that day, I sat on the couch with the yellow notebook on my lap. I opened to a blank page. I wrote, "Maybe it's time to let this story stop being just a wound and start becoming a meeting place. But in my way, not someone else's." I picked up my phone. Opened my chat with Rachel. I read your letter. I saw the video. I don't know what to do with it yet. But maybe we can talk. No cameras. She replied in seconds. Whenever and wherever you want. I'll be there. I just want to listen. The reunion, I chose a cafe neither of us usually went to. Small, on a quieter street, wooden tables, a display full of homemade cakes. I got there early. Sat at a table in the corner where I could see the door. My heart was racing like I was about to interview for a job I wasn't sure I wanted. Rachel walked in a few minutes later. She looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe because she wasn't ready for filming. No perfect curls, no flawless makeup. Just a backpack and tired eyes. When she saw me, she stopped for a second. I saw fear flash across her face. She walked over slowly. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I answered. For a few seconds, we stood there, facing each other, unsure whether to hug, shake hands, or just sit down. She broke the tension. "I know I don't deserve to hug you," she said. "But, can I?" I hesitated. Then took a step forward. The hug was awkward. It reminded me of all the past hugs and everything that had happened between them. We sat down. She put her backpack by her feet, took a deep breath. "I brought this," she said, pulling something out. The yellow notebook. "I think this notebook spent too long with me," she said. "It's full of things that are yours." I borrowed it with the excuse of understanding better, but really, I used it to build speeches you never gave me permission to make. I wanted to give it back. She slid the notebook across the table. I ran my fingers over the cover like someone touching a piece of herself that had been taken. "Thank you," I said. We sat in silence for a few moments, listening to clinking cups, the espresso machine, soft laughter from a nearby table. "I read your letter," I said at last. "And I saw the video where you talk about using people's pain as content." She watched me closely. "I don't know what real repentance looks like on camera," I went on. "But I know that if you came here with no plan to turn this into content, that's already some kind of sign." She swallowed. "I don't deserve you believing anything I say," she said. "But I need to say this anyway. I messed up. Badly. Once, I listened to you as a friend. Then I started listening as someone hunting for a good story. I turned your trust into a script. I took what you whispered to me and repeated it to a lens." Her eyes filled with tears. "I hid behind pretty phrases," she said. "It's for the kingdom, God is using this." I didn't say any names. But God started talking to me. Not about haters or cancellation. About character. About seeing people as people. About the fact he doesn't need me to violate anyone to heal others. I took a deep breath. Do you know what hurt the most? I asked. She shook her head. I've never wanted to be in the spotlight, I said. I've always been the backstage girl. The one who writes, not the one who grabs the mic. And when I finally had something to say, you took that and said it for me. You took away my right to discover my own voice. She lowered her eyes. I know, she whispered. I tried to justify it by telling myself you'd never be able to speak. That someone had to speak for you. But the truth is, I wanted to be the voice of a pain that wasn't mine. I continued. You made me suspicious of God, I admitted. Because I heard so many people say God used you because of a video I didn't even know was coming, that I started to think God was just like Ethan, someone who uses what I go through without even asking if I'm ready. She covered her face with her hands. That's the part that hurts me the most, she cried. I wanted so much to defend God that I ended up getting in his way. We sat in silence for a while. I don't know yet if I can say I fully forgive you, I said honestly. Forgiveness isn't a button. It's a process. But I know I don't want to spend the rest of my life with your name stuck in my throat. She nodded. I'm not here asking for my old place back in your life, she said. Not even for our friendship to go back to what it was. I'm here, she took a deep breath, to ask what you need me to do. Her question caught me off guard. I'd never stopped to frame it that way. I looked at the notebook. First, I needed you to give this back, I said, stroking the cover. And you did. She smiled faintly through tears. Second, I went on, I need you to drop the phrase, a friend of mine, when you talk about pain that isn't yours. If someone wants to share, let them. If they don't. Stories aren't yours, even if you were there. She nodded quickly. I've already taken several videos down, she said. Some because they asked me to. Others because, rewatching them, I saw how violent they were. I canceled the book too. I don't want to build anything else on what doesn't belong to me. Third, I said after a deep breath, if sometime in the future we do talk about what I went through, I want it to be with me. In my way. On my time. She wiped her tears. If that day ever comes, I'd rather be just the one holding the camera, if you want, she said. I smiled for the first time. You do hold the camera well, I joked. And you write well, she answered. The air between us got a little lighter. We talked about other things. The 16-year-old girl I'd cared for. The strange quiet she was facing now that her channel wasn't what it used to be. It's like I'm back at square one, she admitted. Few views, little engagement. And I'm finding out if I really meant it when I always said, if it touches one person, it's worth it. Maybe now that one person is you, I said. She laughed through tears. Maybe, she agreed. Before we left, she held my hand. Do you forgive me? She asked again. I thought for a moment. Today, I forgive you for what you've already acknowledged, I replied. And if someday I notice other things that still hurt, we'll talk again. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It's choosing not to treat you as my enemy. She cried harder. I'll take any piece of forgiveness you have to give me, she said. We stood. This time, the hug was less awkward. Not the hug of two girls like before. The hug of two women who knew there was a deep crack between them, but who were still willing to put something good in that space. Epilogue, the little sermon about reunion after that day, my life didn't turn into a movie with a perfect ending. There were still days when I saw Rachel's face in an old video and wanted to shut everything off. There were still Sundays when I couldn't bring myself to walk into a church. There were still messages about that video that, even deleted, lived on through screenshots. But slowly, some things shifted inside. I started reading the Bible again, not as raw material for content, not as ammo to defend anyone, but as a letter written to me. I discovered a God who wasn't trying to leverage my pain to create a move of God. A God who sat with me on the couch, yellow notebook in my lap, and said, I see all of you, not just the part of your story that looks good in a video. I started praying again, not with pretty phrases, but with things like, I'm angry. I'm tired. I don't want to be used. I want to be healed. And little by little, I realized the most important reunion wasn't with Rachel. It was with him. Rachel started a new journey too. Her channel didn't die, but it changed. She began talking more about her own repentance process, about how dangerous it is to make an idol out of a calling, about respecting people's timing. One day, months after our talk, she sent me a link. It wasn't a public video. It was unlisted. I recorded this thinking of you, she wrote. It's not for posting. It's just so you can see I'm trying to learn. In the video, she looked at the camera and said, if you told me your pain and I used it as content without asking you, I was wrong. God didn't call me to be the narrator of other people's stories. He called me to be a witness of what he does in me. If one day you want to tell what he did in you, let it be with your voice, not mine. I cried watching it. Not because I needed that video to forgive her, but because I saw a different kind of fruit. The fruit of her own reunion with God. Maybe you've never had your story told on a channel. Maybe no one's turned your pain into a video. But maybe someone used your confidences as gossip. Maybe someone preached about your sin from the pulpit, no names mentioned, but obvious enough it was you. Maybe a friend took what you shared through tears on a couch and used it as an example, in a small group, in a text thread, in a prayer circle. Maybe, at some level, you feel exactly like that 16-year-old girl told me in the hospital, I don't want to become someone's story. I just want to be heard. If that's you, let me tell you something I had to learn crying in a lot of bathrooms. God doesn't turn you into content. He doesn't look at you and think, perfect, this will make a strong testimony. He doesn't rush your healing so it fits into a 15-minute sermon. He doesn't speed up your process so it makes a good illustration. He looks at you and says, you are not a case. You are not an example. You are my daughter. You are my son. We live in a time when everyone wants to tell everything. But there is a God who knows how to wait. Who knows how to listen first. Who knows how to sit beside you in silence, without posting anything, until you are ready to call things by their right name. Reunion, sometimes, is not about walking again with everyone who hurt you. Sometimes reunion is discovering that God is not like the people who used his name to hurt you. Reunion is when you realize he doesn't need your pain to have a ministry. He already had a plan of love for you before your first tear ever fell. And if, like me, you've ever confused God's voice with the voice of people who like microphones too much, maybe today is a good day to separate one from the other. If this story connected with yours, if at any point you saw yourself in me, in Rachel, in that girl at the hospital, in that woman whose story was told without her consent, write one word in the comments, son or daughter. It's not for me. It's for you. It's your way of saying, I'm not just a testimony. I'm not just a viral clip. I'm not just a powerful story. I am a son. I am a daughter. And if this story stirred something you thought was long buried, if it reminded you of someone you might need to forgive, even from a distance, without reconnecting, share this video with that person, or at least pray for them. Not so they can have a successful channel, but so they, too, can find their way back to a God who doesn't use anyone as sermon material. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, because here we're going to keep talking about real stories. Stories of pain, yes, but also of reunion. Reunions between people who had every reason to hate each other. Reunions between children who thought they'd been forgotten. And above all, reunions between wounded hearts and a father who didn't turn his face away in the moment of trauma. Because in the end, this isn't just the story of how my best friend turned my trauma into content. It's the story of how God, patiently, took me back off a stage I never asked to stand on, gave me my voice back, and reminded me that before any video, I was already his.